How do you know if you're making decisions from dirty data? I want you to take a look at this image here and really take a look at it. Like, there's all kind of stuff all over the counters. You really can't get to the sink. There's stuff all over the floors, the stove, and the oven. It looks like it's full. You really can't prepare a meal for that over there. If you were told to just go get a cup of water, a glass of water, what would you be able to do? Would you be able to find a cup? Would you be able to find a clean cup? Would you be able to get to the sink? Would the sink actually be clean enough to get the water or wherever it is that you're getting the water from? Would you be able to do that? Or if you needed to prepare a meal over in your stove, would you be able to do that? Maybe this image is making you really anxious and you want me to clean it up and show you something like this. I know this is actually probably a lot more better for you, and this one over here is a little bit more anxious. And, for anyone who has OCD, I apologize. There is a point to this madness, and it is because we do this all the time with our own data, us included at MeasureU. Where we just get more tools and more data and we just keep shoving it into the same place, or we just trying to figure out like, oh, I'll deal with it later. Or I'm going to get this new tool and this new thingy thing that's going to help make this thing better. Or, oh, I need to do consent. So I'm just going to slap it on there and hope for the best, or whatever it is I'm doing. And I'm really not quite sure what everything else is going on. You try to go and get a quick cup of water, or a quick metric where you're trying to say is what's my revenue, what's the conversion rate, and you can't because there's too much crap in the way for you to be able to do that. Or you want to create a meal for your family, or maybe a dashboard from all these different ingredients from all these different locations. You get the analogy, you get where we're going with this. You can't do that because there's too much stuff in your way, and it's probably not going to be a very clean meal. It's probably going to be a little bit dirty because it's not coming from an environment like this where it's clean and it's organized. Everything is where it's supposed to be. And it's easy to see what is what. So if you have that problem, you might have some dirty data. So how do you find out if you have dirty data? Well, we created this really quick quiz. I'm going to walk through the questions, and then at the end, I'll show you all the questions, and you can take 30 seconds to find out if you have dirty data. So the first question is your data in silos? Do you have a silo for maybe Google Analytics, another one for Meta, Facebook, another one for Google Ads, then another one from Clarity, maybe another one for your shopping cart or your CRM? Is all of your data in all of these different places, but not talking to each other? Obviously, they're going to live in their own databases. That's normal. But if there isn't another database that houses all of them or some of them, or at least a way for them to talk to each other, then your data is completely siloed off and disconnected. So think yes or no. The next question is, do you have Frankenstein reports? Kind of thinking back to those silos, do you grab a little bit of data from here and a little bit of data from there and a little bit of data from this sheet and, copy and paste from that platform over to this platform, and you're trying to stitch it together, but you know it's kind of ugly and you know it's kind of clunky. Sorry, Frankenstein, but you know it could be better and more efficient. If you say yes to that, if you say yes to Frankenstein reports, then keep that in mind. Do you spend more time fixing reports each week than taking action? Like, are you constantly fighting an uphill battle and fixing things, either measurement or constantly trying to, figure things out and troubleshoot instead of actually being able to take action to move the optimization forward toward your goals of increasing leads, revenues, profits, whatever it is? Are you fighting an uphill battle? Next question is for a different person, different role, is possibly, do you spend more time analyzing? The previous one was fixing. And so this one is analyzing, like for the person who's maybe actually making the decision. They're spinning their wheels, going in circles with all of those different platforms. Again, they have an analytics silo, they have their meta silo, they have their ad silo, but nothing is telling them the whole story. And it's really hard for them to see what is true and what is not. Speaking of, do you have funnel tunnel vision? I've actually had a lot of fun saying this one, funnel tunnel vision. Kind of was wondering, ooh, should it be tunnel funnel vision? But I had decided funnel tunnel vision. So if I am wrong and you think it should be tunnel funnel vision, let me know in the comments. But you might have fun saying funnel tunnel vision too. So do you have it? What is it? Well, it is when you are too focused on one little piece of the funnel where you have funnel tunnel vision and not thinking of the big picture. And some of you might actually have a job. Maybe you're in content marketing and your job is to get eyeballs to the page. But wouldn't it really be beneficial to your client, to your stakeholder, whoever it is you're reporting to be like, I can get eyeballs to this page, but this page over here, it gets a little less eyeballs, but it gets you more leads. So again, big picture. Are you siloed from eyeballs to the page to leads to purchases and to revenue? Is there a disconnect of the entire user journey, the entire big picture? If you're focused on one little puzzle piece instead of the big picture, that might be something for you to be aware of. Do dashboards from different departments and or platforms disagree on the truth? So this again goes into possibly that siloed data again, but this is really, really common. One of the most common things that we see uh, for all the years that we've been doing this is that, vendor A is saying this and vendor B is saying that, or it could be department A, department B, platform B. There's two things that are telling two different stories, and the client doesn't know who to believe. And obviously, you want your data to be really, clean and not dirty or messy, or you want to know what is true, but you don't want to throw the other company under the bus because obviously it's a small world in marketing and you don't want to do that. You want to be sure that everyone has good, clean data so your client can make the best decisions for that. So here are the quick questions again. So is your data in silos? Do you have Frankenstein reports? Do you spend more time fixing reports than taking action or analyzing the reports taking action? Do you have funnel tunnel vision? I promise if you say it, you're going to like it too. Do dashboards from different departments or platforms disagree on the truth? So if you answered yes to any of these questions, you have dirty data. I'm sorry, it is true. And you might be like, whoa, 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 Julie. I don't have my data's not like this. It is, I can go and get a cup of water, get the revenue, like you said, and I can make a little bit of a meal. So maybe it's not as bad. But it could be better. Like, let's all agree that this is so much more, you know, calming, and you are very confident walking in here. It's proven. Like, it is proven over and over again that for anybody, even if you don't have OCD, that if you have a clean environment, none of the horizontal clutter, and it's nice and clean, you are going to be more efficient, less stressful. It's the same thing for our data. Absolutely the same thing. And you're thinking like, oh, well, I'm just going to put the right things on the report. We're not going to shove the data into the catch-all drawer or into the one room or the garage where all the data is still piled high and, there's still a mess. We don't want to shove the mess somewhere else. We're not going to do that. We're going to make it better. So what is it you do? How do you fix dirty data? How do you do that? Well, we have this thing that we have is clean data. Now, for us at MeasureU, there's, all of our different experts. We have Jeff, we have Manisha, myself, and so many others, decades and decades of experience inside of this online marketing world. And we have taught other frameworks, other systems, but now the landscape is changing. We have different rules, we have different laws, and all these other different things. And we're like, how can we make this easier? I'm going to be a little bit honest. How can we make this easier on ourselves? Because, like I mentioned, our data was a little bit muddy. Like, this is kind of not this bad. We were kind of like this maybe, where because the way we teach is we throw things up there and we pull it down. We put throw things up there, we pull it down, and it was just really, really messy. And honestly, I wanted to walk in like this. We all do. And so we were trying to come up with something that was easier for us, but also easier for you, something easier for us to be able to teach and for something for you to be able to implement and for you to be able to implement for all of your clients, and make it really easy. So that's how we came up with clean data. And I'll walk you through it step by step of what it means, but we're going to be putting out a lot more content, a lot more tools, a lot more free things for you. So just, stay tuned. This entire video is not going to have any sort of call to action except, hey, stay tuned for more cool stuff. This is us just wanting to share this good news. I couldn't wait. So here we go. I'm actually kind of jumping the gun a little bit, so sorry. But our first letter, C, is collect. And I'll walk through a little bit deeper on what each of these letters mean in just a moment. So let's take each letter at a high level. So C is collect. Next is label. Then we have enhance, assemble, and narrate. So again, collect, label, enhance, assemble, narrate. That is how we create our clean data. I'm like, well, how do you do that, Julie? Well, first collect, map what data is going where. So what and where. And I think Manisha and I are talking a little bit about also maybe putting the how, what, where, and how, because possibly you might have consent or other things or other stuff going on. But for now, to keep it simple, think about map what data goes where. So what are you sending to analytics? What are you sending to Meta? What are you sending to Google Ads? What are you sending to your CRM? All of those things. Do you have a thread that connects them all? So later on, when you're assembling them together, you're able to see the big picture. What is it that you have going where? So map that out. Then we have label. And this is where you define the behaviors and the conversions that matter. So we're trying to keep this a little bit more ambiguous and not platform specific. Like for Google Analytics, we could say key events and all these other things. This is going to work. This whole system works for whatever platform you're using, not just Google products, not just for anything that we've been teaching before. If you want to go jump into any of the other analytics, Adobe, any of these platforms, this works for that same concepts. And this is intentional. So that way you can follow this along and do it with whatever client you're working with. So again, label is defining the behaviors and the conversions that matter. Then enhance. This is where you're going to level up. This is where you're going to enrich, protect, and connect data to be more useful. You're like, what the heck does protect mean? Well, this is where maybe you go into server side. So instead of, web, you're going into server, or this might be where you level up and do more custom events and not just everything out of the box. Or might be where you go through and connect into some sort of cloud platform like BigQuery or something like that. This is again where you're enhancing your data. And then we get to assemble. As you probably might have guessed, hey, some people probably skip this step right here, where they just go straight from, they got their labels, they kind of got some conversions, they go jump into assemble. And this possibly why their data is in their dashboards a little bit clunky and a little bit Frankenstein reports, because they didn't enhance and connect the data to be more useful. So that was just a little side note. Didn't plan on telling you that just yet, but I wanted to get that one out there. So assemble is where you combine the data so it's easier to understand and to easier to understand dashboards. So it could be in a tool that's free like Looker Studio, or technically you can use Sheets, Excel, or something like that, as long as you kind of know how all the data connects together and works together. And it doesn't have to be a Frankenstein report. It could be a very beautiful report and not clunky, but just you have to know how all the databases work together. And to be able to do that. Or you can use other tools out there. There's lots of other tools to assemble your data properly. And if you have questions about them, just let us know. Narrate. And this is where you turn your data into next steps and action. So this is where you take that dashboard that you just combined all of your data. So think about it. Vision this, where you have your analytics data, you have your ads data, you have your CRM data. So you're going to be able to see which ads are getting eyes to your page, which ads are also converting, and which pages are converting you into more leads. And of those leads, which ones are turning into buyers. So that way you can turn off the leads, off the ads that are not turning into leads and or buyers. And so you would be able to see the whole story. That's where you get your big picture. The whole thing will be able to connect together and be able to see that. And so that's where you get your clean data. So collect, label, enhanced, assemble, narrate. You'll be able to know exactly what to do with your data. And it goes from this hot mess to, or maybe you're like, no, it's not that. It's this over here, to something that's clean, something you would want to go into to get your cup of water, make your family a meal, or even just a simple bowl of cereal. You'd be able to do that. So here are your questions again to answer. Do you have dirty data? And remember, if you answered yes to any of them, then yes, you have dirty data, but no fret, no worry. You have MeasureU behind your back, and it's going to help you create clean data. So stay tuned for more content that's going to help you be able to clean up your data and go from that dirty mess. Let's go back. So go from that dirty, hot mess to something that is a little bit more manageable and a lot more efficient, and something that you're actually going to be able to take action on. So we'll see you on the next one.